been part of my problem. I'm always in between progress and a lack of progress. Good morning. Our opening words come today from our hymnal, and it's referred to as From Generation to Generation. In a house which becomes a home, one hands down and another takes up the heritage of mind and heart, laughter and tears, musings and deeds. Love, like a carefully loaded ship, crosses the gulf between the generations. Therefore, we do not neglect the ceremonies of our passage when we wed, when we die, and when we are blessed with a child. When we depart and when we return, when we plant and when we harvest. Let us bring up our children. It is not the place of some official to hand to them their heritage. If others impart to our children our knowledge and ideals, they will lose all of us that is wordless and full of wonder. Let us build memories in our children, lest they drag out joyless lives, lest they allow treasures to be lost because they have not been given the keys. We live not by things, but by the meanings of things. It is needed to transmit the passwords from generation to generation. If you'll open your order of service there, you will find our words for chalice lighting. And please let us affirm these words together. May the light we now kindle inspire us to use our power to heal and not to harm, to help and not to hinder, to bless and not to curse, to serve you, Spirit of freedom. If you'll now, as we proceed with our service, open to your hymnal, and as you are willing and able, arise and sing with us, hymn number 345, With the Joy We Claim the Growing Light. Good try. Please be seated. No. Thank you. If you'll now turn to number 521 in your hymnal, and we're going to be doing this as a responsive reading. And if you'll allow me to begin with the first paragraph, and if you'll follow me in tandem, please. May I be no one's enemy, and may I be the friend of that which is eternal and abides. May I never rejoice in the ill fortune of one who has wronged me. May I never fail a friend. May I always keep tame that which rages within me. And may I know good people and follow in their footsteps. Okay. We now come to that portion of our service that is entitled Honoring Our Joys and Our Sorrows. Oh, okay. Yes. You know, we gather on Sundays and we strive to pray for each other on Sunday in the hope and in the aspiration that we shall not prey upon each other on Monday. And we look at the world, and there is a good argument for what many have called despair. We look at Ukraine, Haiti. We look at so many things in the world, including in our nation, that would definitely qualify under the definition of that which it causes us to despair. And yet one of the things we aspire to is hope, affirmation, and the continual desire and commitment to never give up on compassion, empathy, and above all else, love. And so we light this candle not as a candle of sorrow, but as a candle of joy. Because as we continue to go through these holy seasons, whether they be Judaic, Christian, Islamic, pagan, whatever they might be, the central theme is always one of love and unity. Again, this is our aspiration, and to that which I light this candle of hope. Very briefly, I just wanted to give you another heads up on the saga that is my health. You might not think of it because I know I appear to you as a absolute icon of vibrant, perfect health at the moment. Yeah, but I've still had some difficulty to the point where I've had a lot of what I'll call physical discomfort. I kind of feel like a walking, talking toothache is probably the best way I could describe it. And yet, I'm deeply grateful because they keep telling me how well I'm doing. It's like my wife keeps telling me what a happily married man I am. She knows everything, and so I believe her. And so I believe my doctor when he tells me you're doing just fine. And, you know, then he walks away going, listen to him scream. But anyway, I go back to the doctor on Tuesday, and he and I are going to be discussing some very, very strong pain medications because you can't continue to be a walking, talking toothache. It it impacts your sleep, it impacts your ability to function at optimal levels. But all in all, I'm grateful again for your prayerful support and your concern. People have sent me emails and notes and so forth, and that means a lot, and it does a lot. It's very healing, and I mean that sincerely, so thank you. Now, is there anyone else who would like to arise and share with us a joy or a sorrow?
I don't know. You can decide whether it's a joy or a sorrow. But the fire guy called, and he wants to come back and make sure we followed through with all his... Oh, okay. And then, well, it's a joy to be Patty on St. Patty's Day, even though I'm Scottish and native. So I really feel I must tell an awful joke. Now, it could have been 2 Irish guys and a native guy, or it might have been 2 native guys and an Irish guy. I don't know. But they walked out of a bar stone cold sober. What? It was a sushi bar. Where's the candle?
What?
Oh, I'm going to light a candle for something.
Anyone else, if you would, please?
Mine's more of a memorial thing. First of all, the lady that trained me on the school bus with Niagara Wheatfield, her name was Bonnie Robinson, and she passed away. I don't remember when it was, but quite a few years ago. And when I used to drive the school bus, and she passed away from diabetes. Of all days, she was Irish too. It was St. Patrick's Day. So I'm just doing this in remembrance of her. And the other one, I really didn't know the guy too well, but I like to go watch pro wrestling sometimes. And ESW, they had a guy who was only, they didn't say what he passed away of. It was sudden. He was only 31 years old.
Oh dear.
And I'm trying to remember his name. I'm drawing a blank. But anyways, it was with ESW Wrestling. It's on their website. And it was kind of a tearjerker. Everyone was crying Friday night when I went there. And but anyways, they went on with their stuff that they do in the ring, and it was fun.
Great.
And I light a candle too.
Last call.
I just would like to light a candle. I so appreciate our early spring. Peter and Betsy, daffodils from their garden. Ooh. Teresa brought all of the pussy willows, which are here. And Teresa, are you responsible for the piano? Beautiful piano tableau we have here. And I just appreciate the sunshine. It's going to be a little chilly this week, but obviously we have an early spring. So I want to light a candle for that. And I want to light a candle for Ron, because we so appreciate you being with us. It has to be a challenge, and you've been here twice after your recent surgery.
It does a lot for me to be with you.
Okay,
it's very healing, so thank you.
So appreciate you being here with us.
Thank you so much. Anything else? Okay. We now come to that portion of our service, the offering, where we do remind you with deep gratitude that in order for us to be able to put forth our Unitarian Universalist principles and traditions, we depend on your generosity to make that possible. And we are grateful for that generosity. So thank you. Spirit of life, come unto me. Sing in my heart all the stirrings of compassion. Blow in the wind, rise in the sea, move in the hand, giving life the shape of justice. Roots hold me close, wings set me free. Spirit of life, come to me, come to me. Thank you. Erin go brach. Roughly translated, that means Ireland forever. Actually, in my case, it would be Warsaw forever, but that's a whole nother. Everybody has a favorite place. And I think one of the interesting things that we, in our humor about this day, this St. Patrick's Day, is that more often than not, we have to come to conclude that we as a species, we as a group of spiritualized beings who are having the human experience, we have a tendency of using humor more often than not to cope with and deflect things that are either painful, things that are inconsistent in our behavior, in our points of view. And humor for its own sake, more often again than not, is something that is utilized so that we can, well, there's no other way to put it, make sense of it all. One of the things that I find interesting about St. Patrick's Day is that you drive around and you would think to yourself that if you saw so many people, for example, like this gentleman here before me that has a wonderful chapeau, you would think that that's exactly the, basically the template of St. Patrick. You want to look up in some book and you want to see a picture of this man or an artist's rendition, and instead of the mitre and the accoutrements of a Christian bishop, of a Catholic bishop, more often than not, you'd think driving down the street that anybody that has a hat similar to this, or my personal favorite, the green bowler, which is a real trendsetter. There's green beads, there's all kinds of other things. And people say, it's the one day of the year we all get to be Irish. Yee-haw. I'm a student of history. And the reason I said what I said earlier about humor is that we've got a lot of stuff to make up for in the context of how we treated the Irish. They came here after the potato famine, or any other group of migrants or immigrants that have come to this country, there is this tendency of first and foremost, we see whether we can abuse them, use them as the butt of our jokes, butt of our humor, and then if they survive all of this, they become an interesting morph. They become an Americanized version of their ethnicity. So that's how you get to be, no matter how much you read in history, and please, I wouldn't encourage it, as something that's going to put a smile on your face, but the abuse that we give to each other, and then, like I said, if we can survive that abuse, then, it's hardy, har, now you can be one of us. And the rationalization, and it is a rationalization, is that, everybody goes through it. It's their turn. Their turn? And again, you study in terms of all the people who've had a turn. Women, okay, who have been marginalized and did not gain suffrage till 1920 or 21. People of color, specifically African Americans, who did not get anything even close to civil rights until 1964. But again, we laugh. It's funny. If they can survive us, then they can become one of us. The irony of it all, people like St. Patrick, people like a Jesus, people like a Buddha, etc., would probably be, if we could have them sitting here and have a dialogue with them, absolutely appalled at that kind of rationalization. Absolutely appalled. And so it goes back to, we're still not out of the woods where our humanness must be civilized. And then at some point, maybe we can achieve those aspirational goals and become spiritualized as some of the folks I've just mentioned, a Buddha, a Jesus, etc. But we still, because we use humor to reconcile ourselves to when we are less than, when we do not live aspirationally, where we do not live in a very positive, intentional way, we still use humor in order to help us cope with ourselves. And hopefully, through that humor, we learn to be better than what we have been. We've learned to rise above and beyond. And you can see where in different, again, I'm a student, an amateur student of history. I do not have a degree in history, much, to my chagrin, because it probably should have been. I still can't get past a history book without trying to read it, as much as I possibly can. But with that being said, so often, and you think about, well, what are some of the humorous things? What are some of the things that we laughed at that would be appalling to us to laugh at today? And I think because we are products of our generation, products of our upbringing, I was raised on the television set. That was my babysitter, like many of us. I'm a baby boomer. And I think in terms of what we used to laugh at almost hysterically was a television program called Hogan's Heroes. A mirthful, wonderful romp through a Nazi concentration camp. And in those days, we found funniness. We found humor in that. I don't know about you. My parents survived the Nazis. My uncle was in Dachau, in Buchenwald. And yet, knowing that intellectually, they still found a way to bring this into our living rooms. We laughed because there was some funny stuff. It was satire, and that's what satire is all about. And yet, now at the end of the day, you think, do you think if that show came on TV today, it would gain an audience? Probably not. Probably not. Because what we're striving to do in our humanity is to hopefully become a kinder, more gentle humanity. And we're taking those things that we used to consider humor and hopefully we're analyzing so that we become awake and aware that a lot of humor has been utilized at great cost to the brunt of that humor. I was raised in a community that had a lot of ethnic diversity. And I can still remember as a small child having my feelings hurt when I heard the traditional, I call it the traditional Polish joke. Or I'd see people make fun of, whether they be people of color or Hispanic people or gay people or whatever. And I hope and I pray that I have matured and raised my consciousness enough so that when people engage in that kind of humor that is mean-spirited, that really is a way to try to minimize our, for example, white supremacy, minimize our bigotry, minimize our inherent culturalized judgments and even hatreds, that we are hopefully moving in a direction where all of that will be at some point healed. But yet, we still have to remember that there are times that and it all depends on the individual, how they were raised. Again, I have what is called a dark sense of humor. So you're gonna, if you and I were in a social environment, it would not be uncommon for me to use that dark sense of humor at times. And some of you have run out the door when I've used it. But the truth of the matter is, hopefully I'm learning how to use that in such a way where it is still lighthearted and yet not used as a weapon. I really miss a lot of the old television programs. Imogene Coca and, what's his name? Thank you. You knew exactly who I was taking of. A lot of that humor, you looked at it and you thought, well, some of that's a little crass, some of that's a little edgy, and yet you got the impression that people were being humorous, but hopefully in most cases, were not being mean-spirited. So, ultimately, you will see, and I've seen this already, I have seen Palestinian comedians and Israeli comedians, and I'm sure I also comedians who hail from Ukraine. And some of the humor that they put forth can indeed be very painful because it's very born of reality, a very harsh reality. And yet, because we strive to understand how humor can diffuse some of that pain and suffering, then we indeed can hopefully appreciate some of it. It can be very healing. I mean, I've been in situations where there's some kind of a gathering, and somebody brings some kind of a joke book or some kind of a book of little narratives, humorous narratives. And we find that a lot of times when we need an uplift, we will even take humor from, let's say, Facebook or some of the others. I happen to think that one of the greatest humorists, and yet one of the greatest, I'll use this, philosophers, is George Carlin. Because George tells it like it is. He hits you right between the eyes, and nobody likes it. But when you think about it, you go, whoa. But that's the power of humor, to take something very serious, point out a culture's ignorance, arrogance, and even stupidity, and yet make it come out in such a way where we can acknowledge what we need to work on, because we're learning to laugh at ourselves. Learning to laugh at ourselves. That's one of the most important things I think you could probably teach anybody as they're growing up. Never take what you do seriously, if I might say that, but never take yourself so seriously that you lose the ability to laugh at yourself, that you lose the ability to be able to crack a smile over something you've said, something you've done. And even if that's not been particularly, to your credit, I can't tell you how many times when I was a kid somebody would say, did your mother know you said that? No, don't tell her. And hopefully you learn through the humor as well as the lesson that comes from the humor. Now, one of the things I asked before I continue is that if anybody could bring with them, if they thought about it, a joke or a bit of a humorous story that they wanted to share with the congregation today as we celebrate, humor, as we celebrate the joy that we strive to give ourselves, again, to diminish those things which minimize ourselves. It's me? Something I ate? No. Oh. Yes, please. Cool. Right here on our stage with Topo Gigio. Yeah, you can use that microphone if you want. Cool.
Why did the moon not eat anymore? Because it was full.
Arr, 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 arr. I like that. You got more?
No.
That's it? You don't got one more? Uh-oh, mom's got your script.
What's a scarecrow's favorite food?
Don't know.
Strawberries.
Ouch, I love it.
Where do wild pigs live?
Okay, where do
In a
wild
lake.
pigs live?
Why do wild pigs live?
Oh, okay, why do pigs live?
Wild pigs live.
Wild pigs live.
In a neighborhood.
What was it?
A neighborhood.
Oh, a neighborhood. Oh, yeah. I love it.
Can I
Knock, knock.
Who's there?
there?
Water.
Water who?
What are you doing today?
What are you doing today? I love it. Beautiful.
Yeah, really.
Thank you so much. I will tell you, if anybody ever tells you or even begins to imply that the pun is a very crass form of humor, they are not your friend. Find different friends. Yes, sir. There's the...
When I die, my body is going to go to UB Medical School. And then after the doctor students are finish practicing surgery on my body, I'm going to be cremated. And then they'll put my ashes in a beautiful vase and give it to my wife. And my wife is going to flush my ashes down the toilet.
Please, go ahead, sir.
I think we've all had this experience. I wrote a poem, it's called Sometimes Rain is Good. It was a beautiful morning and I was feeling good. As I was walking, I met a man with a real attitude. He tossed my good morning back to me with, "What's so good about it?" Then proceeded with a real sad story, yet seemed too eager to tout it. My sound advice was avoided, always a reason it wouldn't work, and he couldn't seem to understand why the other person was always a jerk. The story grew very strange as he relaxed to his ebb and flow. My sense of reality was escaping as I tried not to let my fear show. As logic was disappearing and reality's grasp fading fast, I continued to try to contribute, but failed and gave up at last. With the twists and turns I was hearing, with exaggerations abound, it was like being in an ocean of chaos with my happiness being drowned. Then suddenly words from the past came to my attention in Rod Serling's eerie voice. "You've entered another dimension." Then I knew why I was hearing that familiar tone. The place that I had been led to is known as the drama zone. Now that I had a reference, I could put a plan to action, for I realized that this person would never get satisfaction. To escape this place I'd been detoured to, that was spoiling my happy day, I just looked up and said, "It looks like rain," and quickly walked away.
Thank you. You know, when I die, I want to donate my body to science because I've always had a reputation of being a hard worker. So that would mean that even after I've died, I could still be construed of as a working stiff. I left the Church of Rome at a very young age, and even though I deeply began to appreciate many of its mysteries and points of view as I grew older, I still maintained that after my cremation, I would want to be sprinkled over the Vatican because I've always been noted as someone who wanted to get into the Pope's hair. Charlie goes into the confessional and says to the priest, he says, "Father, I have sinned and I need your absolution." And the priest says, "Well, of course, my son, please tell me what you have done." "Oh, Father, I'm ashamed. I committed the sin of adultery. I have indeed committed the sin of adultery, and I need your absolution." "Well, Charlie, I've got to be honest with you." I said, "I can offer you the Lord's forgiveness, but you'll have to tell me who you've committed the adultery with. Was it Mrs. Smith?" "Oh, Father, I can't tell you at all. I can't kiss and tell. I just can tell you I've committed adultery." "Was it Mrs. Jones?" "Father, please, you're asking me to betray a confidence. I can't do it." He says, "Well, was it Mrs. O'Malley?" "Father, I'm sorry, I just can't tell you." "Well, I've got to be honest with you. I can't offer you absolution, but I will pray for your soul. Have a good day." So Charlie leaves the confessional, and he sees his brother, and he says, and Mike says, "Did you get the absolution you're looking for?" And Charlie says, "No, but I got 3 mighty fine references." And last but not least, well, I have one last one, but does anyone else have anything to share? Okay. You know, back in the day, you know, when people, as I've mentioned, there's so many different religious beliefs and so many different traditions and and based on culture and such. And these were during the times when it was considered a mortal sin to eat meat on Friday in the Catholic faith. So this little man comes into this village, he moves into the village, and the people began to realize very quickly that he didn't look, nor did he behave like someone that they were used to over a number of years. And it turned out that they were correct. He was a little Jewish man. And so every Friday, since he got there, he would drag out his barbecue grill, stoke up the flames, and throw a 3-inch sirloin steak. And the aroma, if you will, of that steak wafted through the entire village. And here are these poor Catholic people who have made a commitment to be meatless on these Fridays, were driven virtually insane. And so they went to the parish priest and said, "Father, you've got to help us. We love the man. He's a great human being. We're happy to have him in community. But he's Jewish. Could you possibly get him to convert so that he wouldn't drive us crazy every Friday?" So the priest says, "I'll see what I can do." So he goes to the fella and he talks to him and he says, "You know, we'd love to consider you closer to our brethren than we could now because of your Judaism. Could you think of ever becoming Catholic?" He says, "I got nothing to do. Why not?" He says, "What do I got to do?" He says, "Well, you come to the church on Thursday. We'll have a beautiful ceremony and it will be well with the community. So I'll be there." So the Jewish fellow comes to the church on Thursday, and they have a beautiful ceremony, and it culminates with the priest putting his hands on the Jewish man's head, saying, "Aye, my dear brother, you're born a Jew, you were raised a Jew, you are now a Catholic. Tidings of comfort and joy, everything's fine until Friday." Everybody's waiting. What to do? What to do? Will he live up to the tradition? Well, like clockwork, he drags out the grill and he pumps up the fire and stokes it and puts on a 4-inch sirloin steak. And he puts his hands upon the steak and said, "Okay, it goes like this. You have born a calf, you have raised a cow, you are now a fish." I'll be here all week. Try the veal, it's delicious, and don't forget to tip your waitress. Now, I hope what I've done in these moments that we've had together is express to you some of the seriousness of where we've been, and in a sense, where we are evolving toward. And yet, in spite of that, to also give you, hopefully, not only myself, but those of you who shared, especially Shecky Green over there. He's so young, he doesn't know who Shecky Green will be. My God. Some of you were looking at me, who's Shecky Green? Anyway, but it helps us to remember that in spite of the pain we see in life, in spite of the suffering we see, in spite of it all, there's always something to laugh at. Not at in terms of to besmirch, to abuse or anything else, but there is always some way to find some humor so that we can be given, and it seems to be some kind of I'll use the word very cautiously, kind of almost a miraculous magic power that when we can laugh, it kind of raises us up and gives us just that little bit more oomph, that little, as the Jewish people say, that nudge, that push to continue forward. And so I encourage you, as we keep continuing forward, as we continue to grow and encourage our children to take that journey with us, keep smiling, keep laughing, but most of all, keep growing. Thank you and bless you. Erin go bra. Erin go Gołąbki, Polish sausage, whatever. Let us continue. As we have, I must say one very important thing that I think is interesting. One of the radio announcers I was listening to on the way in today made an interesting point, and it's kind of ironic. I believe in synchronicity. I believe in that. I don't want to be, too woo-woo here, but that people say everything happens for a reason, but that there are things that are interconnected that we just are not conscious of. But I had this occur yesterday when I was watching TV when I couldn't sleep, but it also occurred on the way in, and so it really, I said to myself, this is a lesson, share it with people. The man said that we know so little about some of the people that we aspire to, and one of the people that we aspire to apparently is this fellow Patrick, Saint Patrick in the Christian tradition, in the Catholic tradition. And it was brought to my attention that if it were not for his work going back to Ireland after he had been enslaved, by the way, twice, that he was responsible for the founding of many monasteries and centers of learning in Ireland, which were responsible for keeping the Western tradition alive and well, meaning education, culture, etc. Because after the fall of the Roman Empire, we came into some place called what? The Dark Ages. So it was his work that actually stabilized a lot of the world because of these institutes of learning and prayer and such. So I would encourage you, if you're interested in someone that is an absolute fascinating historical figure, you don't have to view him religiously necessarily or at all, but just as a historic figure, and see what he went through to promulgate growth and education, you will be, as it's been said, you shall be rewarded. So again, thank you. Our closing hymn today is going to be Irish Eyes, When Irish Eyes Are Smiling. And is that this? Okay, excellent. Excuse me? I'm sorry, I'm like...
Our pal Al.
Okay, our pal Al. Yeah. There are too many vowels in this. I need Vanna White. Our pal Al. Jesus. I need a vacation. God bless you, Al. Go right ahead.
My name is Al Patty asked me to lead in the final hymn today.
I don't think the mic's on, Al. It's not on.
Now you can hear me, right?
There you go.
Anyway, she asked me to lead in the closing hymn. I'm doing a traditional version of When Irish Eyes Are Smiling. I'm sure most everybody knows the chorus. Maybe not the verses, but the chorus. Yeah, I'm going to do an a cappella version of that song. There's a tear in your eye, and I'm wondering why, where it never should be there at all. With such power in your smile, sure a stone you'd beguile, and ever a teardrop should fall. When your sweet lilting laughter's like some fairy song, and your eyes sparkle, twinkle bright as can be, you should laugh all the while and all other times smile. So now, smile a smile for me. When Irish eyes are smiling, sure 'tis like a morning spring. In the lilt of Irish laughter, you can hear the angels sing. When Irish hearts are happy, all the world seems bright and gay. And when Irish eyes are smiling, sure they'll steal your heart away. For your smile is a part of the love in your heart, and it even makes sunshine more bright. When it's sweet song crooning all the day long, comes your laughter and light. For the springtime of life is the sweetest of all, and there's never a real care or regret. For when springtime is ours through all of youth's hours, we should smile each chance we get. When Irish eyes are smiling, sure 'tis like a morning spring. In the lilt of Irish laughter, you can hear the angels sing. When Irish hearts are happy, all the world seems bright and great. And when Irish eyes are smiling, sure they'll steal your heart away.
That was fantastic. Thank you so much, Al. Again, too many vowels. Oh, there's some bad humor there, but I'm not going. No, I can't. I can't do it. There's that dark humor again. There you go. Yes, I am your father, Luke. No, yeah, that's right. Anyway, just as we prepare for the closing words, or as I call it, the benediction, a couple of announcements very briefly that I have anyway. Please, after the service, we have coffee. And I guess our coffee hour will be Paul Brundage is responsible to, I think you brought Rubens and, no, that's another sad story I have, but I won't share that with you today. Anyway, but so please, after the service, stay with us for some refreshments and some good fellowship. One of the things that I'm painfully becoming aware of, and I say painfully, it's emotional, is that as we go into April, May, and June, I'll be with you only 3 more times for this church season. And what I want to suggest to you is that maybe in June, I'm going to try to figure out to bring with you an old Polish recipe with me. So on that first Sunday of June, I do believe that's the date, bring your appetites. And if you don't like Polish food, I'll have a bag of McDonald's too. So anyway, those are my announcements. I don't know if anyone else has any. If they do, now is the time to share them. Yes, please.
I just want to finish up. Last time I was talking about, one of my mind went blank.
That's okay.
The wrestler's name was Anthony Gaines.
Gaines?
Yep.
Okay.
Anthony Gaines.
Thank you.
I believe that was that wasn't his actual last name. It was part of his wrestling name, but that's what they call him.
May he rest in peace. That sounds fantastic. Thank you. Anybody need an instant replay? Okay. Oh, let us pray. I'm sorry, hang on. We have gathered together as brothers and sisters, and as we prayed during our chalice lighting, we lit the light to kindle and inspire us to use our power to heal and not to harm, and especially that power that we have at our disposal for our own benefit and the benefit of others, the power of humor. Let us look in each other's eyes and not recognize whether they were Irish eyes or any other ethnicity or culture's eyes, but let us look in each other's eyes and recognize the divinity that dwells within each and every one of us. The spark of life, the spark of hope, the spark of truth. And as we come to understand that in a more deeper and in a more significant way, let us covenant with ourselves, with each other, and with the world to go forth and again, keep laughing, keep smiling, and keep growing. Amen. This thing. You'll find again your chalice extinguishing words in your bulletin. And please repeat after me. We extinguish this chalice, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community and the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. Postlude.
In lieu of a post, is it working? In lieu of a postlude today, we are going to give you another informational video. It's a little dated. It's from a local TV broadcaster. Is the TV going on? No.
Give it a smack. Oh, Reverend.
There it is.
With your latest Eclipse Minute, I'm Chief Meteorologist Todd Santos. As we start looking ahead, we have about 10 weeks to go as of this recording leading up to the April 8th, 2024 full eclipse, the solar eclipse. And as far as the path itself, the path of totality, as in it looks like this type of thing, what you see in the banner there where the moon completely almost blocks out the sun, includes Buffalo. There'll be a lot of other areas that at least get to see a partial eclipse, but we get the main event right here into Western New York. So talking about time frame, it's one piece of this whole thing, but just trying to suggest a few ideas as folks are getting ready to, say, make some plans for this day. It's around that, say, middle of the afternoon, around 3:20 p.m. within the circle here around Western New York. One thing to keep in mind, the closer to the center of this line, or the center of this circle, you'll get to see it for a longer amount of time, say upwards of around 3 minutes and 45 seconds. Along the outer edges, you'll still see it in places like Cuba and Angelica, but only for about 50 seconds total. So as we get closer, we'll try to pinpoint exact areas that may be good places to watch it from. Until then, stay tuned to Channel 4.
May the road rise up to meet you. May the wind be always with you. May the sun shine warm you always till we meet again.
I guess Paul went downstairs.